In this exercise, we'll create recessed lettering in a mold that will result in raised letters on a molded part. We'll start with a simple mold block that looks like this with a C-plane equal to 1. We'll click on the Note by Key-in icon. We'll format the note with Arial font 0.3 high filled. We'll also check Display Text in Detail Plane and Mirrored. We'll type A1 mold for the text and place it centered on the point in the mold cavity. We'll click on Generic Burst and burst the text twice to convert it to splines and lines. Then we'll click on the Cut icon. We'll use Forward, Blind, 0.1 for the distance, and 0 draft. We'll select the mold block, then the converted letter geometry, and the downward facing vector. We'll now have a mold block with recessed mirrored text in it. We'll use the prune tool to create a sample part. Finally, we'll use the X-Form Dynamic tool to pull the part from the mold and flip it over. So let's work with an actual file. We'll open up sample file KCV moldblock1.ckd. Let's click on the Note by Key-in icon. We'll type A1 mold for the text. Then we'll click on the formatting and we'll change this to Arial 0.3 height, filled, display text in plain, and mirrored. We also want to make sure that we have center justification and center anchor point. Now click on OK, and we'll position the text on the point in the cavity. Now let's click on the Generic Burst icon. We're going to select the text twice. This will burst it to splines and lines. You do not want to grab the block in this situation. Now let's click on the Cut icon. We're going to set this up for Forward, Blind, 0.1, and 0 for the draft. Click on OK, select the block, and then the converted letters. They're black, so we can just select by color. And we're then going to select the downward facing vector, and we now have that cut in the part. Let's select a new color for molding. Pick something light. We're going to pick on the prune icon. We're going to use Copy, Feature, and then Bump. Move into the cavity, and the entire cavity is selected, and then click on Accept. And that gives us our sample part. Finally, we're going to click on the X-Form Dynamic icon. We'll select the part, and then Accept. We'll drag the vector up firstward, then we'll rotate it over 180 degrees, and then we'll drag the vector to move it back out to the front here, and then click on Accept. And there's our molded part. So let's recap. In this exercise, we created recessed lettering in a mold to create raised letters on a molded part. We started with a simple mold block that looked like this with a C-plane equal to 1. We clicked on the Note by Key-in icon. We formatted the note with Arial font 0.3 high filled. We also checked Display Text in Detail Plane and Mirrored. We typed A1 mold for the text and placed it centered on the point in the mold cavity. We clicked on Generic Burst and burst the text twice to convert it to splines and lines. We then clicked on the Cut icon. We used Forward, Blind, 0.1 for the distance, and 0 draft. We selected the mold block, then the converted letter geometry, and the downward facing vector. This gave us a mold block with recessed mirrored text in it. We used the prune tool to create a sample part. Finally, we use the X-Form Dynamic tool to pull the part from the mold and flip it over.